So we were just in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, not too long ago, talking to Tremaine from the band Hexerei. And he told me, he's like, we got this other guy in the band, and I think he's got a top five. Well, you should have a chat with him. So here he is, Aiden. I guess you got a top five for me. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Now, I went over the EP, the Hexerei EP, with Tremaine. Now, I didn't see your name on that, so I'm guessing that you're in Hexerei going forward, maybe towards the new release.
Yeah. I joined after that EP, and I think that I'll be on the next release for sure. We've already started to kind of work that out. I'm not going to kind of provide too many details, but it's still in the works, and it'll be out in the foreseeable future for sure.
Now, in regards to the sound, I love that EP, man. I love what it brought. Now, I'm wondering, are you bringing a different element, or is there something that's going to be changing a little bit now that you're in the mix?
I it oh well, I mean, I think like my playing style is going to shine through for sure.
Okay.
But I also think that it is Tremaine's project, and I kind of want to stay true to the sound of the band too. So
Sure.
I mean, it's going to sound different, but I think that it's still going to kind of be in the same realm. It's not going to be too far off.
I got you. All right. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
And also, you're in another band called Flashback?
Yeah. Sorry. Flashback's my main project actually, and
Right.
I've been kind of um, it's been the main kind of priority of my life before I joined Hexerei for the past 5 or 6 years now, I want to say.
Right.
Yeah, and yeah, it's been going pretty good with them too. You know, it's always hard because we can't really do anything in the pandemic and stuff, but we're trying to keep up, right?
I hear you, man. It's a little bit of a different sound. You're coming more from like this, almost like a hard rock stoner, like almost like a more of a borderline punkishness to it.
Yeah, and that was kind of, well, I mean, Flashback was my high school band pretty much, right? And so like it's a continuation of what I was listening into in high school, and like I grew up in high school, like I was listening to tons of COC and like other stuff, and that kind of rubbed off in that band quite a bit, I think.
Absolutely. So, Aiden,
Yeah.
what is your top five?
Should I go from like a number five down to number one, and then we can kind of like have a talk about each, or?
That would be awesome. Start with
Okay.
number five.
Okay. Number five is Bloodlust by Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats. That's my top, or I guess I should say yeah. So the top five is my top five albums.
Okay, I got you. All right. So
And
we're top five albums, and number one is Bloodlust. And
yeah,
that is a classic pick,
yeah.
man.
It was.
Do you have a vinyl release of it?
I don't actually. I've been looking. They're so
Like,
hard to find because the story behind that band is so crazy in that record, and but I haven't been able to find a copy actually, which I'm hoping to find a copy eventually.
yeah, you and me both, brother. You and me
Yeah.
both. So go ahead. Why is it your favorite?
Oh, well, it's number five on the list actually. It's not number one.
Well, one of the five favorites.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, it's on the list because I don't know. It's just I grew up on like 70s rock, and I feel like that album, it does a super good job at capturing that like old school like production.
Right.
I mean, and like all the flashback stuff, like I was the guy who recorded it all, and like I've been kind of teaching myself how to record, and I really like that style of production. It sounds like it's old. It sounds like like you can hear a few mistakes on the recording. It's imperfect.
Right.
I do love the vocals on that record. I think like the harmonies and just like everything, just it fits. It's like as a whole, it's definitely cohesive.
It definitely took me by surprise the first time I heard the vocal, because I was like, I don't know. Do I? Yes, I do. I do like this. Like right
Yeah,
away. It's like like a millisecond, you're like, wait, what's happening? And then
yeah.
you wind up getting on with it. Was that the one where they did it in somebody's garage, or they did it in a barn or something?
Yeah, so I think the story went is that they did volume one, and then Kevin Starr's his friend, it was in his garage or something, and like I think that they tracked it, and like they originally only made like 30 CD copies of it, and then Rise Above Records picked it up, and then there was this huge uproar about it, and they hadn't. I think their first actual show was in like 2013, and that record came out in like 2011. So the story is kind of crazy behind that band a little bit.
Have you seen them live yet?
I haven't. No, I would love to though. Like they're an awesome band.
Yeah, last time I saw them with Graveyard, and just incredible night.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
so that is your number 5. So now
Yeah.
we're counting down, and we're going to number 4.
Yeah. Number 4 is Welcome to Sky Valley by Caius.
Okay, that's a pop. I can see that as a popular pick.
Yeah, it was an anchor for me definitely in high school. I think the first Caius record I ever heard was "And the Circus Leaves Town," and after I heard it, I kind of went, and like I listened like to all their other albums,
right?
And Sky Valley just stuck out to me, and I just had it on repeat all the time,
So, been to the States?
Yeah, I have.
And I guess here's the next question: have you taken a picture at Sky Valley?
At the Sky Valley sign?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I've been to California, and I kind of I was too young. It was before I knew who they were, so I needed. It'd be nice to go back and take a picture at that sign for sure, since it's obviously still there, which is really cool.
Absolutely. Now, okay, so I apologize. I didn't ask this about Uncle Acid. Maybe I should ask that first. So for Bloodlust, what was the track that really turned you on Bloodlust?
Oh, I think the first Uncle Acid song I heard was probably Death's Door, to be honest.
Okay.
And just it was the intro riff that it instantly hooked me, and then the guitar harmony comes on, and it's just this the build up, and it's just this slow groove that you can't stop. It's just it's an infectious groove. It's just awesome.
It's hypnotic. It's pulsating.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, now with Caius, Welcome to Sky Valley, what was the track that got you?
It was probably Gardenia, the first track.
Okay.
I imagine, and it was just hearing the wall of fuzz and just that humongous. Obviously, Josh Homme, his tone on that record is just awesome, and I think Scott Reeder played bass on that record, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I know he did on Space Cadet. Gosh, what was mine? Demon Cleaner.
Yeah,
that was
a great song.
I don't know if I don't think Scott did that, but either way, Demon Cleaner was my introduction. Otherwise, yeah. Oh, great pick, man. And I, anybody that in the genre, usually somebody picks at least a Caius album. I understand it.
Yeah,
no
they're
shame.
Definitely an anchor.
Yeah, whether it's like you said, Circus or what is it? Blues for the Red Sun. Yeah. So any of them, man. Okay, so that's your number 4. So now we're going into number 3. What is it?
Yeah. Well, I would like to choose all the Sabbath records because obviously, they created all of this stuff, right? But I'm going to go with Volume 4.
Okay.
And honestly, it's tough to pick a favorite Sabbath record because again, they were, an anchor for me in school. I was listening to, it was Master of Reality and Volume 4. It was those two records really that I really got into. But Volume 4, it's a well-written record, and the songs on it are just, I think my favorite track was probably, Under the Sun is super heavy. Pretty much anything on side B is awesome on that record.
Snowblind, St. Vitus Dance, yeah.
Yeah. Any of those.
Okay. So, in talking about whether, like you said, whether it's Black Sabbath or Caius or Uncle Acid, have any of these bands helped you form your own sound? Or
absolutely,
what vibe did you get from them? Was it that different tuning? What really?
Well, yeah, the tuning for sure. We started to tune down because of these bands that I was listening to at the time. It was kind of, I think it influenced me in a variety of different ways. Just, playing slow music that was interesting,
Right.
And I find a lot of bands are a bit like, I mean, doom is an interesting genre in that it's there's a ton of bands that their whole kind of thing is to play super slow, and it's like super long. I mean, I'm a huge Sleep fan, right? And so
Okay.
but I feel like for me, I would rather play music that's slightly more upbeat, and like Caius has that slow, kind of heavy stoner doom sound, but
Yeah.
they still are playing, like more upbeat songs. And I guess I was drawn to that in the beginning, right?
That makes total sense. Absolutely. And can you just imagine when we're talking about Black Sabbath? I know we're just came up on, what was it, the 50th or 51st anniversary of the first album.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure if it was 50 or 51st, but it was something around there.
And then volume 4, I mean, it's like it was in September of 72, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, shit, that's coming up on 50 years, man.
Oh yeah.
It's shocking that, if you went 50 years ago back to 1972 and you're like, well, I'm going to go listen to something from 1922, like it just
Yeah.
not the same thing. I mean, just the
No.
I always, it's funny when I talk to people and I tell them about the podcast and et cetera, they're like, well, what does this music sound like? Because a lot of people don't really know.
Mhm.
And I have gone into this thought process of saying, like, well, there's a lot of sounds from 1966 to 1976 that really solidify the sound.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And this, by sure, it really is. Black Sabbath Volume 4 is definitely one of them.
Well, and I always go back to their first record too, because it was 1970 when that record came out.
Right.
The first track is Black Sabbath. I mean, like nobody else did anything like that at the time. It was pure, like it was doom metal. It came out in 1970. Like I couldn't imagine being a kid at the time and going to a store and looking at the cover and being like, I'm gonna buy this record.
Right.
And then you're just like blown away because you've never heard anything like it before. I mean, it would be a surreal experience at the time, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people were experiencing that, especially in the early 70s.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so let's see. We 5, 4, 3.
Yeah.
And now we're up to number 2. What is the second favorite?
Number 2 is got to be Warp Riders by The Sword. That was a huge record for me.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
It was a record that I got introduced to by the drummer of Flashback, who I was really good friends. Well, I still am good friends with him, and we were in high school at the time. And his dad actually, like, I was hanging out with him and his dad, and he was like, "Hey, have you heard of The Sword?" And I was like, "No." And he played me Warp Riders, and that was a big reason why I wanted to kind of make music in a heavier genre, because it just blew my mind. It was just like, oh my God, this is awesome.
You know what's funny? I'm kind of with you on this one because this is the one that hit me. And with along with Caius as well, and even some of the what's the other band? Alabama Thunder Pussy, I remember.
Oh yeah.
And it was all around that time. And I'm going back because I'm a little older. I'm going back to Headbangers Ball. And I heard, what was was it Tres Brujas? Maybe that might have been the video.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But yeah, man, that hit me. And I was like, I don't know what to call it. I was calling it like crash rock. And I had no idea what to even call it. I just knew
what. Yeah, because it's not doom. It's not doom at all. I mean, I don't even think it's stoner rock, really. It's just hard rock. But their sound in particular was like if they took stoner doom and sped it up, which I really liked,
Right, absolutely. And it's a anytime I see Matt Bales anywhere on the production engineering side, yeah, it's going to be a solid release and it's going to sound amazing.
Yeah, and their previous 2 records, I mean, the production was entirely different. People say that Gods of the Earth doesn't sound as good because it was all JD who produced it. I still think it sounds super cool, but the production on Warp Riders is just amazing. It's an incredible record all around.
It really is. And it also brought me a little bit more into the illustrations and the artwork of this genre or the scene, if you want to say.
Yeah.
Because got that kind of trippiness, a little bit of space kind of
Yeah.
vibe that you're going to
Well,
see over and over again.
and it's a concept album too. I think that actually there's like a story that goes behind it, and it's all based on space and like it's kind of based on sci-fi, and so I think that like the cover art, like it suits it really well.
Yeah, it's a perfect yeah, it is. I would say yeah, absolutely concept album. And just from the beginning, you're going to go on a journey
Oh
and
yeah.
then we just go straight in, man. Okay, so all right, so we got the sword with Warp Rider. So that is number 2.
Yeah.
So that leaves one more. What do we
One
got
more.
for the number 1 album?
Number 1 is a bit of an oddball, but it was a record that I got introduced to at a very young age. It's Hemispheres by Rush.
Okay.
And it's definitely an oddball, but it was a record. It was the first record that really got me into music, I think.
Okay. Now do you use any of the way that Rush creates more of that? They have more of a progressive style. Does that
Yeah.
come into your playing at all?
I appreciate it a lot. I feel like in my early guitar playing, I was trying to sound like Alex Lifeson just because I was, I had loved the way that it was just like his soloing technique and just the way that he plays single notes. Like you can really tell it's him when he's playing. I feel
Absolutely.
like in songwriting, I like there's a lot of stuff that they do that I can't really comprehend. And I guess Hemispheres is one of those things where it's like I can understand it, but like how the fuck did they come up with this? Like it's just, it's crazy. But like it was a record that I got introduced to by my stepdad, and I remember I was super young at the time, and I got into the car with him, and I was like 9 or something, and he was like, "Hey, listen to this," and he puts on on the first track of Hemispheres, and I was just like, "What is this? Like this? Like is this a girl singing? Like I have no idea what's going on." And
Right.
then it was like I actually got into it more, and like it was the first record that I listened to properly, and I was just like this is insane. Like it just blew my mind.
It truly is, and it goes straight to the progressive rock where, they're I mean, the songs just like they have all these different parts to them.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay. So your turn on was Hemispheres. Mine was 2112,
Yeah.
which I would put up
Same
there.
era, same era. But they're
Yeah.
both great records. Like I'm a big Rush fan. Like I have almost their whole discography on vinyl. I've seen them live twice, and they were awesome live. And yeah, I'm a huge Rush fan. I love both those records. 2112 is a great record as well.
I think there should be like maybe an over under when you go to see a Rush concert. Like, how many Zildjian t-shirts are you going to see in the audience?
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Like the amount of drummers that go see Neil Peart, it's insane. And I was fortunate enough to see them twice before he passed away, and so I'm super grateful of that because he's one of the best drummers like ever. So
Absolutely.
it was awesome seeing him live for sure.
And we either just came up on the anniversary of his death not too long ago.
Yeah, it was the 1-year anniversary, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, what a loss. Jeez.
I know. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I was devastated when I heard the news. I remember I was at work and I was trying to keep it all together, and I was like looking at my phone and I saw the article and I was just like, oh, that is just not a good thing.
Yeah, and it's also a testament to, this massive sound, but coming from 3 people. And
Absolutely.
I think it says a lot for the genre, in the like stoner doom genre. You see a lot of 3-piece, even some 2 pieces, shit, even some solo acts, that are on stage. And to just have all that material from 3 people was just mind blowing to me at the time.
Yeah, I've always I play in a 2-guitar band now. Flashback was originally a 3-piece.
Right.
And, me being the only guitar player, I'm like, how do I fill up, that amount of space? And then you go see Rush live or you go see Sleep live, and you're just like, it's the biggest like sounding 3-piece that you've ever heard in your life. And it's truly awesome to watch live.
Indeed it is, sir. Indeed it is. So while I got you here, do you mind talking? And thank you, by the way, for the top 5. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries, man.
And can we just go over a flashback a little bit?
Absolutely, man.
Okay, so if we kick this off, if you got like maybe a memory or something over some of these tracks, I'd love to hear it. Can we start with Widow's Breath? What can you
Yeah.
tell me about it?
Well, it was after our record prior to Heathen of Influence. It was an album that we had done in high school, and then we had just kind of I guess Doom. It was at the highest kind of priority in my life at the time, and so I was like, I'm just gonna write something super slow and heavy, and I wrote the riff, and then I was trying to I was like, well, at least the way I write songs is I write all the music first and then go back and do all the lyrics.
Right.
And so, but like in terms of lyrical themes, I think that it was based on weed. I hate to say it because we were all experimenting at the time, and I mean, Widow's Breath. I mean, like there's a strain called White Widow, and we had a bunch of that around, and it was one of those things where we thought we were like a cool stoner doom band, right? Where we were writing a song about weed. But it was I don't know. I tried to make it not as obvious as sleep, I guess, because they flat out say it. And I guess that's kind of the story behind that one. It's a great tune. It's one of my favorites on the record.
Awesome, dude. And what can you tell me about Darkened Plague?
Darkened Plague, it was a song that kind of came together. To be honest, the music, like it didn't take too long to write. And then, a lot of times I don't necessarily have a clear cut, I don't have an idea for the subject matter. And so I kind of just write whatever and then see what it turns into. And that was kind of one of those songs. And I think I was criticizing a lot in that song. I mean, obviously Darkened Plague. I think I was criticizing, the government and just it's more of a general thing too, because I like to kind of leave it a little bit there's a bit of a mystery in terms of what the songs are actually about, and
Absolutely.
I kind of like that the listener can kind of have their own meaning attached, right? And
Indeed.
so I think it's general enough that it can mean a bunch of different things, but at least kind of where I was coming from, it was politically charged, I would say.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
And if we move on to Northern Sun, what can you tell
Yeah.
me about it?
Northern Sun is another one of those songs where it was just a super heavy riff that I had come up with. The lyrics actually were it was a poem that I wrote in high school for a project, and I just thought that it was really cool because it was talking about space, and I was just I was writing about nothing at the time, and I was like, I'm going to use that in a song, and I kind of changed it up a little bit, and it ended up working really well.
That's funny because, in talking with Tremaine, he had one of his poems on the Hexerei EP. So
yeah,
maybe like kindred spirits in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
What can you tell me about the next track? Is it Serval Dream?
It's a transition track. It's kind of like an intro track to the next track, the
Atomic Fog. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Atomic Fog, it was a song that I kind of it took me a while to kind of complete. It was a song that I had written apart. It was apart from the rest of the band. I came to Lucas, our drummer. I had a demo recording of it, and it was a completely different version. We ended up changing a lot, and it was a song that is personal to me in the sense that it was dealing in high school. I guess any metalhead or anybody of similar interests experienced kind of hardship in high school where you're kind of like the outsider in a lot of ways, right? And so
absolutely,
I think the Atomic Fog, the lyrics kind of describe I don't know, I think it's my my feelings and the anxiety and stuff that I went through in high school, and it's a personal song in that way.
Yeah. And do you ever get that feeling now that you're a little bit older, maybe I was a little bit about the drama, or it's I don't know whether it's hormonal as you're a teenager where it's you just feel so much.
Yeah. I I mean, I think I definitely felt more back then.
Right.
I'm I don't think I'm one of the kinds of people that like I'm like, I reflect back on the past and think, oh, like I was overreacting or whatever, because like what I felt in the moment, it was very real.
Right.
I think it it was probably obviously exaggerated, a little bit, but like I still like I reflect back on high school and I'm like, I I wouldn't pay, like I don't want to go back there ever again, and it was not the best experience. I mean, the best experience that I had in high school was obviously forming Flashback, but that was kind of the only really like plus that I got, from that whole experience.
Oh yeah, believe me, I'm with you, man.
Yeah,
If people think, oh, if I could just do it again and go back, I say, no, no, you
not
don't want
really,
that
no.
because you're gonna have to deal with your hormones and bad acne, and or
Yeah, no.
I did, I know that. Ugh.
Yeah.
So if we move forward, Fortune's Guild, what can you tell me?
Fortune's Guild was it was just a cool like instrumental track that we had written.
Right,
We wrote it and then we just thought, it'd be cool to not have lyrics over this, and we just kind of came up with a cool title. And it's the only solo where our other guitar player Jake solos on the record, because he actually joined just prior. He just joined prior to the record being tracked, and so it was a lot of fun to put together, and it's a ton of fun to play live too. It's a bit more upbeat, which it's yeah.
nice. So if in a live set, Fortune's Guild, do you put it somewhere in the beginning, middle, or do you leave it as the end as a banger?
Uh it's kind of, in the middle towards the end. Like usually if we played an album order, like having I mean like Atomic Fog is pretty slow, and then having Fortune's Guild right after, like it works in a live setting. So it's usually
Perfect.
kind of somewhere in the middle.
Okay, I got you. It's like the build up to like, hey, you got to rally, man. We only got a few tracks left.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do this.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now the next track is From the Frost. What
Yeah.
can you tell me about it?
From the Frost is a song that I honestly like my only like well, I think my inspiration for From the Frost was High on Fire, to be honest. And
Okay.
like I'm a big Matt Pike fan, and the way that like he does his vocals, and so it's kind of like, I took a lot from like Bastard Samurai off of Snakes for the Divine, like his vocal
Okay.
style
Right,
in
right,
the
right.
verses. And it's a song that I kind of wanted it to essentially just be a massive build up until the end. And then the end is just a super slow, heavy riff. It's the climax of the record, and it's the song that, well, I mean, it's ended all of our live sets for the past, like year and a bit, just because it's such an epic ending, and
Yeah.
it's great.
So that's the showstopper right there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
You got it, brother. And finally, Noble One.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about it?
So no, actually, the story is pretty cool behind this. This track, I have to give full credit to our drummer Lucas, because he kind of came up with the idea. He, well, me and him are both big Windhand fans, as
Mm-hmm.
we should be, right?
As you should
And
be, yes.
and Windhand always has some really cool acoustic tracks, because Dorothea, like it's all her, and she does like the acoustic tracks on those records,
Right.
and it's kind of a cool like break in the heaviness. But he was like, well, a lot of her tracks are in the middle of the record. Like it'd be cool if we had like an acoustic track at the end. And I was like, okay, cool. And so he kind of had like a loose idea of what he wanted it to kind of be about. And then I wrote lyrics, and he thought that like he liked him. I had a small like acoustic part, and I played it and sang it. The funny thing is about that acoustic track is I tracked it with my iPhone, and I sent it to him as a demo, and then he
Okay.
was like, "That's good enough to put on the record," and it ended up making the record, which is actually a pretty cool fact.
You never ever know what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I apologize for kind of springing this on you, but
Yeah,
I
no
was
worries.
just I was listening to Flashback right before we got on the call, and I'm like, oh my god, I didn't even know he was in this band. So, thanks for running down those tracks, man. I really
Yeah, no
appreciate it.
worries, man.
So with Hexerei, and Flashback, of course, how can they reach you for the Flashback material? And I know we talked about Hexerei with Tremaine before, but
Yeah.
anything else you want to add to it? How can everybody reach you on social and buy your stuff?
Flashback is on is on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. We have a couple videos up. I think we're most active on our Instagram. It's probably, I think that's kind of where things are going these days anyway, is Instagram for sure. So like any of the major social media platforms we're on a label out of Medicine Hat out of Alberta, and they're called Wasted Wax Records. If you want to pick up a copy of our record, you can do that on their site.
I was told it is a sexy evergreen vinyl. Is that correct?
It definitely is, yeah. And it's only 220 copies pressed. So there's not very many. So if you want to snag one, you better do it quick.
Yeah, I can imagine. They go pretty fast. So, brother, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. If you can hang on for just a bit, I'll be right back in a sec. Okay. Let me shut that.
Cool.
Let's see.